You can't get your ex back through logic, through persuasion, or by crying and complaining. Relationships are driven by emotion. So your ex's decision, whether to come back or leave for good, is going to be determined by how they feel about you, about the relationship, and about their life after the breakup. So if you want your ex back, you need to appeal to their emotions above all else. And because breakups are such an emotional time, it's actually easier than you'd think to gently steer their feelings in the right direction. And there's actually one particular emotion that you really need to focus on above all others. And you can start right now. But before we get into that, I'm Brad Browning, breakup coach and best-selling author. Now, I specialize in reversing breakups and helping couples get back together. Now, I'm not interested in holding your hand here or just telling you what you want to hear. I'm interested in what actually works, in what will help you win your ex back and give you that second chance that you're looking for. And emotion works. Your ex will come back to you when they feel one specific emotion above all others. And that emotion is pain. Yes, your ex really needs to experience the pain of the breakup in a very real and concrete way. Now, not physical pain, obviously. I'm talking here about emotional pain. And while maybe your ex has cried a lot since the breakup and maybe even told you how much it hurts to be apart from you, that's only one small part of the pain that I'm talking about. Their pain needs to be really totally unbearable before they're going to come back to you. They need to feel like you're the only thing that can make them feel better again. So let's talk about how you can get there. So first off, it doesn't matter whether you were dumped or you were the one who initiated the breakup. As long as you're currently trying to get your ex to take you back, everything in this video will apply to your situation. So to make your ex feel that pain, first we need them to feel the consequences. So when I talk about consequences here, I'm talking about the changes in your ex's life that stem from the breakup. Now, this is everything that changed when the two of you, went your separate ways. And these consequences are going to be either positive or negative. Now, yes, unfortunately, ending the relationship is going to bring some benefits for your ex, even if only temporarily. So let me give you a few examples. So first off, a breakup brings more freedom and fewer obligations. So your ex has, really no longer has to consider your feelings in everything they do. They're no longer responsible. And they're also going to experience less drama and conflict. And finally, they're also going to experience a lot of relief. Not that being with you was a huge drag or anything, but breakups are always going to be extremely stressful. And so once things have settled, they are going to feel relieved. So those are a few of the positive consequences of breaking up. And obviously, those are not the consequences that you want your ex to feel to the fullest. In fact, it's ideal if your ex doesn't really enjoy any of those benefits, but for the most part, that's out of your control. However, the negative consequences of the breakup are going to be much more impactful on their state of mind, and you'll have a much easier time pushing those buttons in your ex. So I'm going to cover those negative consequences briefly, and then we'll talk more about how to make sure your ex feels all of them to the maximum extent possible in order to increase the odds of them changing their mind and taking you back. So number one consequence is loneliness. So it's pretty obvious that your ex is going to feel lonely without you in their life. However bad things were, your presence was obviously a source of comfort and connection for them. They've lost their favorite person to eat with, watch their favorite shows with, and really just hang out with. They've also lost their built-in wedding date. They'll feel that pain every time they look at their phone and there's no message from you. Every time they come home to an empty house. And more than that, your ex has lost their biggest cheerleader. So whether you always gave them compliments, consoled them when they had a bad day, or even just provided an outlet to vent their fears or frustrations, without you, their life is going to be lonely and it is going to be somewhat painful. And your absence is going to continue to be a sore spot for them. And they're really only going to have one way to soothe it, and that's to get you back into their life. Number two consequence is embarrassment or awkwardness. Now, this can actually be worse than the others on the list, depending on how strongly your ex is influenced by their friends and family and society generally. Because, now that you've broken up, they have to break the news to everyone that you're no longer together. And now they have to have, an awkward conversation every time someone mentions you not knowing about the breakup. And this really can cause a lot of shame because it gives people an instant glimpse into their private life that they might not want to share. And what they see is not the ideal version of your ex that they're trying to present to the world. And sometimes this shame is painful enough that it can cause people to come back just to avoid embarrassing questions. And then there's the awkwardness that comes from splitting up. You two may need to see each other to trade your belongings, sort out how to separate your finances and your living arrangements. And your ex is going to be dreading these kinds of conversations because they won't know what to say to you or how to treat you. And the third consequence is guilt. Now, you probably both feel guilty after the breakup, regardless of who ended it. This is really common, but it is also good news for you. Now, the dumper dreads having to break the news to the other person, knowing it's going to be devastating and heartbreaking. Even if the breakup was crazy toxic and your ex seems furious with you right now, once the dust has settled, that guilt is going to start to seep in. And they're also likely to feel guilty even if you were the one who ended it, because they'll feel that they did something to push you away and ruin things. And most people can't help but feel guilty for hurting somebody in a relationship. And of course, breakups hurt both parties, so they are going to feel this guilt for quite some time after breaking up. And the fourth consequence, loss of confidence. Now, losing the person that you care about the most, of course, feels like a massive rejection. It seems to confirm your worst fears about yourself. That you can't make love work and that you deserve to be alone. It tells you that you made a huge mistake in who you choose to be with, and that makes you ask yourself, what else have I been doing wrong? And once you start asking that question, you're going to question all your decisions, and it's going to impact your confidence. And number 5 is physical and sexual deprivation. Now, obviously, breakups are often the start of a major dry spell. And even if your ex is able to find somebody to sleep with right after the breakup, chances are it's not going to be very satisfying right off the bat, since their emotions are going to be running wild, and you're going to be dominating their thoughts. They're also going to miss that casual and easy intimacy that you two built together. They'll miss your touch, even if it's just a hug from you at the end of a tough day. And the 6th consequence is uncertain future. Now, part of every relationship is creating a life together. So whether that means specific planning or just the kind of daydreaming that we all do, you both have some kind of idea of what you'd like things to look like in a month, a year, 5 years from now. Maybe you look forward to a vacation you'd plan together, an upcoming event you'd attend to as a couple. Maybe you even envision getting married. Well, whatever your vision for the future was before breaking up, it's almost certainly going to be a lot different now. And for both you and your ex, that's going to create a lot of painful, frightening uncertainty. Everyone fears the unknown, at least to some extent. So what you need to know is this. The worse your ex feels after the breakup, the more different things are for them, the more they're going to feel the pain of those negative consequences we just talked about. So you need to help your ex feel all of those negatives. The loneliness, all the great benefits they lost, the uncertainty they now feel, and what an awesome person they've let walk out of their life. And if you can do that, they're going to feel uncomfortable, heartbroken, and confused, which of course is going to make them think twice about their decision to stay away. And of course, your ex also has a simple way to stop all of this pain and fear. They simply have to get back together with you. And honestly, oftentimes, based on my 15 years of experience as a breakup coach, that is exactly what they may do. When their pain reaches a certain point, they're going to feel compelled to call you up and ask for a second chance. Now, of course, if you're curious, you can find out how your ex feels about you right now and what your chances are of actually successfully getting them back, just by taking my free quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz after the video. It takes less than 5 minutes, so give it a try at breakupbrad.com/quiz. So the question now becomes, how can you make your ex feel these consequences and that pain as much as possible? Well, let's take these one at a time, and we'll start with arguably the most important of all, which is loneliness. Your ex needs to feel your absence from their life. Without you, their life is going to be quite different, and so this is going to be the biggest change maker when it comes to maximizing their feelings about the breakup. But if your ex doesn't see how much things have changed since the breakup, or if that change isn't painful and difficult for them, they're not going to take you back. You need them to see exactly how bad life is without you. And the only real way to make them feel this difference is by disappearing. You can't be there, emotionally or physically, if you want them back. And you need to make this transition really immediately following the breakup by cutting contact completely, at least for a while. Because when you break contact, your ex has no choice but to miss you. It forces them to feel the full consequences of the breakup because there's really no way for them to escape it. Sure, they can try to fill their lives with friends and hobbies. They can even meet somebody new, but none of that is going to replace the feelings that you gave them, especially right after a breakup. But the thing is, you can't do this in half measures. If you continue to talk to your ex and see them occasionally, they're simply not going to feel those consequences. It's just not going to work. So instead of making a strong statement and forcing them to feel lonely, you're just slowly drifting away from them. And every time you contact them, you're helping them deal with their loneliness and you're validating them with your attention. Now, if you want to understand why, I've actually made a video about exactly how to employ no contact properly, including in specific, unique, or challenging situations, which I recommend you watch next. So click the pop-up in the corner here or find the link in the description below. And you definitely should watch that after the video's over if you are about to start no contact or you're still early on in a period of no contact, because a lot of people misunderstand how to actually do it properly for maximum effect. So watch that video. But for now, let's move on and talk about physical and sexual deprivation. So to make your ex feel this consequence, really, you just need to keep them at arm's length physically. So don't sleep with them or really let them enjoy any sort of physical intimacy with you after the breakup. Make them see that if they want to get in your pants or even hold your hand, they need to be willing to commit to a real relationship with you. And you could also take this a step further by flirting a bit, by building some sexual tension with your ex, while also continuing to withhold sex. Basically, tease them, make them want you, but don't actually give in and sleep with them. But remember, this is only going to work after a solid no contact period. Because if you try to flirt with them right away, they're not going to get the right message. And next up, how to make your ex feel uncertain about the future. So really, you need to be a bit inconsistent for this to work. So avoid committing to plans with your ex and don't share any details about your own life or your own plans for the future. You don't need to be flaky or overly cryptic, but whenever you can, be a little bit ambiguous. If you had plans with your ex from before the breakup, for example, maybe you RSVP'd to a friend's upcoming birthday party as a couple, then hold off on committing one way or another whether you're actually going, at least as long as you can without being, rude or inconsiderate. Tell them you're not sure and you'll get back to them. Or maybe you'd planned a trip together with some friends next month. Tell your ex you're not sure you're still going to be going. You want to maintain this mystery really any way you can because it's going to keep your ex thinking about you and wondering about the future. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, you can really force your ex to feel uncertain about things by not giving them any real sense about where you stand on the idea of getting back together, or how much the breakup is really affecting you emotionally and how fast you're moving on. Basically, the less your ex knows about what you want, the more worried they'll be that you're not going to be around for much longer. And that's going to push them to change their mind before they run out of time. All right, now, when it comes to embarrassment and awkwardness, you do want to be careful here. Subtlety really is key. Now, it's good to spread the word to mutual friends that it's over. That could prompt them to feel embarrassed really whenever they see those people. I've found that this is pretty effective and generally has low risk of blowback. But if you do push too hard to make them collect their belongings and move out of your apartment, or if you start a big argument over the record collection, while those kinds of things will cause embarrassment and awkwardness for your ex, you do run the risk of pissing them off or even, making them associate that embarrassment with you, which of course is going to want to make them keep their distance. In any case, guys, thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I hope you found it useful and you've learned a little bit more about how to get a second chance. If you need my personal help and ongoing coaching, just go to breakupbrad.com/coaching and sign up today if I have a spot available so we can immediately begin working together to really maximize your chances of success. I'm also happy to answer short questions in the comments, so don't be shy. Just make sure to hit subscribe before you leave your question. Thanks again. Best of luck. See you soon.